At that skating rink on the island?
Yeah, I thought I was probably one of the best myself.
You can go backwards?
I could do everything, sideways, backwards, almost,
Yes, yes.
So, yeah, that's where we hung out.
Okay.
The skating
At the skating rink.
Yeah.
And that was called Polk. Was that Polk's? I think you
Polk's
mentioned
skating
Polk's
rink.
skating rink. Okay.
The skating rink and the
I
beach.
got you. Okay.
And then there was some more restaurants. There was a couple of restaurants across on the same side as Phil Giles on the island.
Okay.
And there was this other hotel over there called the Purple Palace.
Purple Palace.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was on the other side of the street, on the Little Idlewild Lake. Matter of fact, back in those days, you could go under the viaduct there, under the bridge, and go from Idlewild Lake to Little Idlewild Lake, and go all the way around. That lake behind it, you could actually go around.
Okay. Yes, I got you now.
You could go under there.
Wow. And it took a while to get through. Evidently, it was busy. It was a busy time at that time because people said took a while to get across that island.
Yeah. Well, it all depends on the time of the year, and it opened on Memorial Day. That was one of the times when people would come in and open their cottages and it'd get kind of thick.
Okay.
4th of July, they had cars parked all the way back
Ooh, I could bet. I believe it.
to Nelson Road almost.
Okay.
That way, and then in all directions the other way.
Like a holiday, yeah.
Oh yeah, and Labor Day, that was the day that everybody want to shed tears because everybody's leaving. That's the day where you go run around the cottages and say goodbye to the people that that they're leaving.
Yeah.
Idlewild was a really great thing for the tourists, I guess, more so. Well, it was just home to the people who live here.
Yes.
And we had to do things all year round up here.
Now, you are a young man. I'm saying probably about 8 to 16 years old. Okay. And you were able to get in and see a lot of this stuff because you were part of cooking, evidently, because there were some folks that they were young, and the only way they were able to see the stars is because they came into their parents' restaurant. So is that somewhat like you had a lot of opportunity because of the position you were in?
Yeah. They'd all stop. All the stars that came to town stopped in the grill, just about. And I forget who was that came in there. Dog it. He came in and he told us how he wanted his hamburger fixed because he didn't want to explain every time he came in.
Wow, and you were cooking.
Everybody that worked there was cooking. It was, on our shifts. And mashing the hamburgers and cutting up the French fries and the chicken. He
was a star.
I didn't want to eat any of that stuff after I left here. But he said he came in and we had big hamburgers back then.
Wow.
They cost a quarter. Cost a quarter.
Yeah. You didn't even know how it cost. How much it cost? Okay.
I got a thing over here. And he come in there and they dropped the hamburger on the grill and said, shh. He said, turn it over. So we flip it over and he goes, shh.
And that was it.
He said, put a piece of cheese on it. Put the cheese on it. He said, that's it.
Wow.
So he ate almost raw hamburger.
Yes.
So we got.
He's a black guy.
Yeah, it was somebody like Hibbler, Al Hibbler.
Okay.
He was a singer.
Okay.
But they all came through there and they would stop in.
That's probably where they got that thing, do it your way, have it your way, like Burger King. Have it your way. Go ahead.
Yeah. And we had a lot of fun. Yeah. But, the thing was, the blend, the mix of the people that lived here. I always had a thing about that because, it's always a class thing.
Yes, okay.
So it was kind of a class thing. The people that lived here, they didn't all quite mingle with the people that came here.
Big shots, they were like big shots.
Yeah, because they did their thing. And unless you knew somebody who knew somebody, if you lived here, you weren't included in much of the stuff that was going on around here.
Yes.
I was kind of, I had three friends, and William Davis, Tommy, and a couple other guys, and we just kind of included ourselves in a lot of things.
Now, even though you were young around that time, it seemed like there were, like you said, you had an advantage of meeting a lot of people, and because you inserted yourself a lot, you were able to see a lot of things, and so it was just busy. Traffic around.
There was a lot
here.
of stuff going on.
A lot of stuff going on.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, and you were a swimmer too. Did you swim in the beach up there all the time too, or did you get in the lake?
I swam. Matter of fact, my skills. I honed my skills in that lake. I learned how to swim at that little dock that's going off the back of the pier there, and I got so I could swim across the lake.
Okay.
Because, that was one of the things guys used to do in the
Yeah.
summer.
Yes.
Swim to the other side. It was a guy named Danny Andrews from Detroit. He swam like a fish. And I guess he won records back there in the swimming team.
Wow.
But he jumped in and they said, "There goes Danny." And
there goes Danny.
He's like boom, like a boat going across the lake, and everybody wanted to swim. But you go across the lake, he's on his way back. But I wasn't a great swimmer.
But you swam in the lake.
I learned how to swim.
Were there a lot of now? I'm sure you can tell me this. Were there a lot of black-owned houses around the lake? Because right now, people try to keep it into a family.
There's probably more black-owned houses then. I can't think of any white people who lived around the lake then.
Okay, all right.
You could go down. I didn't know the names of all of the people.
Right.
I knew names of some. You got my Riddle store down there. I know the Jones brothers lived down there in the corner. I know John English. His dad was a dentist from. He lived further down. Dr. Cox and Arringtons. They lived down.
Okay.
I think they still own their place on the lake down there, and around the other side. Yeah, it was mostly.
Yeah, and everybody knew each other mostly, probably around that time.
Yeah.
And here it is, down the road, and I know you're mainly talking about in the 50s, okay, and let's say 50s and less 60s. Yeah. But around the time, let's go up a little bit, and we'll jump back. Around 68.
68.
When Martin Luther King got shot.
Right.
What was the atmosphere that you experienced around wherever you were? Because you might not even been up here, but wherever you were, what was the atmosphere?
I was in Misawa, Japan, in '68 when that happened.
Okay.
And I was on a 5-year stint at that time. I was in Crete. Island of Crete for 2 years.
And you were on I forgot about that. You were in the forces.
I was in the Air Force.
In the Air Force. Okay.
I was in the Air Force. I skipped that. When I graduated from Baldwin.
Okay.
I went to. I worked for Dr. Nelson and Ms. Nelson.
Oh yeah, everybody know the Nelsons.
A couple years.
Okay.
And I had pretty good office skills. I got at Baldwin High School there. I worked in her store on Weber. She had a grocery store and a liquor store right across the street from Skis. It was Skis back then. It's something kind of Skis now.
Uh-huh.
So I worked there, and I also worked in her office over in the doctor's office.
Wow.
And she was instrumental in getting me a scholarship to Ferris.
Well, funny
Ferris Institute.
Funny you should say that. Now you're coming back to something I know a little of. My dad, when I was coming up here before the 80s, because I was born in 70, so I'm thinking like 79, or I do remember him working for Dr. Nelson because he was a carpenter, and he did a lot of ins and outs. That's how I knew Dr. Nelson. They had that Cadillac or car full of junk, and I guess they've always had it that way. Yeah. so I do know a little bit about.
Yeah, I heard about the car full of junk. I didn't really remember that part.
Okay, all right, but you do know the Nelsons.
It got to that. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I worked for them, and.
Were you forced to go to?
No, I joined my parents when I was going to Ferris. There's a lot of sickness hit my family, and they were back and forth to Grand Rapids, and. I decided I'd get out of school and go join the Air Force and kind of help out a little bit.
I got you.
You know,
Pull your weight.
Becoming a majority, and then come back and do what I have to do.
Okay. All right.
And so I went over. They had recruiters that came over to Miss Leela Wilson's place, that block house over there that Joe Lindsay owns.
Yes.
Air Force recruiters came over there, and me and a few guys, we were over and met him, and Joe Brooks was one.
Okay.
And
yes.
we went to Fort Wayne in that September and enlisted
That's
in
amazing.
the Air Force.
That's amazing.
Joe and I went in. I always, his son Chuck, and
Yeah.
I used to kid him all the time about their kids about him. Joe and I went in the Air Force on the buddy system, you know, teasing them. You know,
Yeah.
I'm a friend of the family.
Yes.
You know, give me a break. You know, they got nice business.
I like, yes.
But it's kind of a joke. Chuck kind of laughs when I say something like that. But yeah, we went into, now that's when we experienced some interesting discrimination, racial stuff on that trip. Because, you know, coming up, we heard all these stories about what happens down south, you know, read and run. If you can't read, run anyway. And all those, you know, black only, colored only, white only.
Yes, you heard the story.
Yeah, but I never, you know, we pulled into a town in Palestine, Texas. We were on a train, white and black together, riding from Detroit to San Antonio. We pulled into Palestine. It might be spelled like Palestine, but I think they call it Palestine, Texas. And they were changing engines, so we all got off the train, and everybody went across the street to the restaurants across the street. You know, they were feeding us on the train, but we went over there anyway to sit around in the restaurant and get coffee. So we went in and sat up to the counter. Joe and I sit right up to the counter. And it was a lot of black people worked in the restaurant. And when we sat there, must have been at least 10 faces I saw coming out looking, because it was a pretty big restaurant, looking at us sitting here at the counter, you know. And I guess they were saying, dang, in retrospect, I could say they were saying, wow, these guys are nuts or something, you know. And this little old lady, little old white lady, she said, well, I'm not going, well, I tell y'all now, we don't serve no.
Yes, the N-word.
N-word.
Wow.
In here.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know if people that know Joe, then Joe was really a character. He's a humorous dude, you know. And this, I feel kind of bad about it when I tell people what happened, but I'm telling you what the reaction was between Joe and I.
Okay.
It was like, this shit is, excuse the expression, this is for real.
Yes.
They do get in your face like that.
Wow.
You know, Joe looked at me and I looked at him, and Joe had one of the craziest laughs in the world. He just broke out laughing, you know. He broke, and then I couldn't help it. So here we are sitting in this restaurant laughing, you know, and what are you gonna do?
Yes.
You know, we got up and started walking out. Some of the white boys got mad, turned over a couple chairs.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That like taking up for you?
Yeah. Well, you know,
we
upset about the whole thing.
Yes.
And we walked out the restaurant, and this red cap was standing at the door, and he says, I knew you all would be in there long. He said, come on around here. I'll take you where you can get something to eat.
I like that.
You know?
Amen.
And he took us around to the corner. He said, well, we don't want anything to eat. We eat on the train. So we went back and integrated the train station. It was just sitting there, nobody in there. So we went and sat down.
That's amazing. And you know what? And that's the bad thing about it, Brother Turner, is that if only the people, some of the young folks these days knew what some of the things that you went through back in the day, or experienced that broke the ice for us, because even in this day and age, I can only experience, and we still have it, racism and stuff like that. I went somewhere down north to do a wedding for my boss. My boss was Indian. He married a white wife. And this was about, I'm saying 25.